Maybe drinking people the deep like that, more the আমি কিটা start করি টাইম কিটা আছে 11 non si è rimasto lo stato facciamo un po' di solo una cosa non lo so okay no I 50 Ayuda बहुत है ना ये सब सब तो इम्प्रूव है स्टूडेंट तो रन करो कौन सा सेलेक्शन एक बार ऊपर मैसेज कोई डालूं ग्रुप में मैंने कर दो अब कैंडल से Bon, itu itu on কৰিব তেতিয়া মই মানে ইন্ট্ৰোটো দিব পাৰিম তাৰপিছত যেতিয়া মোৰ হৈ যাব ইমিডিয়েটলি অফ কৰি admit all message this week admit all মই তো তলত কিছু ডাটা মাৰি আছে পালে দমদি এইটো মই দৰকাৰ যাই কৰিবি নে কি কৰিবি মই কৰি আছো মানুহতে হিন্দুৰ দি তোমাৰ দিছে না So we have Pastor right from Pastor Bora side, Dr. After the review of admit all. I use EBT. Start करो पढ़ी से this word as
Basketball to click also. What is it? Basketball to put on. Right must stop. Second decrease. Like the message is one I can't nice. I have what time to read, 5 minutes. Last minute. Report 18. Yes. So before I introduce before starts with the session on energy conservation. Yes, National Energy Conservation Day. I say. What do you talk about it? Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, খবর ভালো আপনার?
Asu, ভালো আছো. Thank you.
So
Good
thank
morning,
you.
everyone.
It's a privilege actually for giving us your time. So before our sir, Dr. Bhaskar Bora sir starts with the session, I would like to give a brief introduction on him. He is an international motivational speaker. He is a disability and cancer advocate and author of the book A Second Chance in Life, as you can see behind him. So he's a very eminent person. So it's a privilege to have him with us. So thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to hand you over the session for National Energy Conservation Day on Sustainable Energy Development. So I'd like to hand over to you, sir.
Sure. So, namaskar, everyone. So, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be talking with you all today. And so, good morning once again. So, just a little bit about myself. So, as as just been told, so I'm originally from Guwahati, but I've been in the UK, in London, for nearly 20 years now. And I'm a doctor by profession. So it's a great privilege to be talking to engineers and engineering students, bearing in mind that I don't know much about engineering, but hopefully I can still give you some new insights and we can raise a discussion. I'm also a campaigner for disability because I'm myself a disabled person. I've got a spinal cord injury and also been diagnosed with cancer in the recent past. So I'm also cancer advocate. So I'm trying to do my best in terms of giving back something to the society through my talks and through my books. So today we're going to talk about the new innovations in sustainable and renewable energy development. And you probably all know. Can I make sure that everybody is hearing me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So we're going to talk a bit about renewable energy resources. We will also talk about why we need it. We're going to talk about the different energy innovations that's coming on. Probably you know all the definitions better than me, but we'll still go through some of those. Then we'll talk about sustainability, why sustainability is such a key word and why it's so important in today's day and age. We will talk about from the India's perspective, the India's potential, and a few other countries who are leading examples. And we'll talk about a bit about socio-economic impact, the geopolitical impact, the changing power balance, and then we'll talk about the future. So I'm going to present a short PowerPoint presentation. Okay. Can you see the slides?
No, sorry, it's possible.
No, sir.
Not able to.
Let's speak a little bit of the other cuisine of it.
Okay.
Okay, just give me 1 second.
PPT share gitu. Musuh please. Sempur ya. Screenshot dulu saya. Emang screenshot dulu sih. Lu siapa?
Are you able to see it now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's great. So today being the International Energy Day, so we're going to talk a little bit about the recent innovations. Okay, so that's my introduction. Now, when we talk about renewable energy resources, let's first start off with why is the need for energy and what are renewable resources? Okay, so the essence of energy to our society is growing to ensure the quality of life and to smoothly run the other elements of our economy. So energy resource uses has been considered as the most important and one of the ongoing issues of modern times. And it is hugely influential on in terms of power sharing, the socio-economic impact, and all of that. About 2 billion people across the globe still do not have access to electricity. And if they don't have access to electricity, they don't have access to many other means in life as well. The reliance on technology, enhanced living standards of developed countries, and the continuous increase in the population of developing countries results in increased demands for the energy. And in order to fulfill the energy demands, so far, the consumption of fossil fuels have been the main route to get the energy. But that has also led to an impact on climate change and on the ozone layer. And we all know that the fossil fuels are running out, and therefore the need for the renewable energy resources is increasing on a day-to-day basis. The greenhouse gases in the atmosphere absorb and remit the infrared radiations while keeping the atmosphere and the earth surface warm. And it is observed that fossil fuels and cement are the two of the biggest reasons why there is an increased carbon emission and a carbon footprint. And that leads to many health issues, uh, many economic issues. And in order to keep our earth safe and to counter the potential environmental threats, the pollutant free technologies known as renewable energy technologies have been introduced. And they can, you probably know all this, but I'm just starting from the basics. So just talking a little bit about these things. So there are three main categories of energy regeneration. One is fossil fuel, second nuclear resources, and the third is renewable energy resources, which is our main topic today. The renewable energy resources have a potential to play an important role in the world's future. And the most important thing about renewable resources is that it can be produced, sorry, it can be produced over and over again with minimum impact on the earth. And the main renewable sources of energy that we have in today's world is solar energy, wind energy, geothermal energy, biofuels, biomass, and hydroelectric projects. And they have the ability to provide energy free of air pollutants and greenhouse gases by emitting zero or nearly 0% of these gases. And they should be reliable, affordable, and environmentally sustainable way to harvest renewable energy in a manner to meet the rural and even the small scale energy needs. There have been several technologies which has been under development for a few years now. It's good to see that the renewable resources, which accounted for about 2% of the world's energy source have now increased up to 23.7, almost 24% now in the last few years. So people are realizing the need for it, and there's been more and more impetus on innovation and investment, and also influencing the policymakers. Now, apart from this mainstream energy technologies, there are some new renewable technologies, which are marine energy, concentrated solar photovoltaics, artificial photosynthesis, enhanced geothermal energy, and cellulosic ethanol. These are the ones which are primarily under development. And the biggest one of these is marine energy. And we're going to talk about a little bit about the marine energy in the next few minutes. So at present, more mature and reliable energy sources are on the rise, and they are becoming more competitive to the conventional energy sources, of which shore wind, solar energy, concentrated solar energy, geothermal and marine energy, and biofuels, as you have just mentioned, they have got the potential to overcome the current crisis that we've got. But it's still quite a way away, because there needs to be a lot of investment uh, towards these towards these energy resources. So looking into classifying the renewable energy resources into two main categories, which is the mainstream energy technology and the emerging energy technology. The mainstream ones are the ones that I've just mentioned so far: hydropower, wind, solar, biomass, biofuels, and geothermal energies, while the emerging renewable sources are the marine energy, concentrated solar photovoltaics, enhanced geothermal energy, cellulosic ethanol, and artificial photosynthesis. So, are you all okay so far? Hello?
Yes, sir. It's
Am I
audible, sir.
audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So, talking a little bit about marine energy. So, there are different ways in which the energy can be harvested from the ocean and the seas, and it's an attractive renewable energy resources, because, as you know, the water bodies or the oceans, they cover about three-fourths of the Earth's area. And if we can harvest the marine energy, not only it can not only overcome the shortage of energy that we have at the moment, but it can also produce a lot of surplus energy. And there are different techniques which has been tested, and been gradually more and more work has been done. And the main ones are wave energy, tidal gradient, salinity gradient, and ocean thermal energy conversion. Now, as I said, the biggest advantage of the marine energy is its consistency and the predictability. The energy stored in these vast and the powerful oceans in the form of heat, tides, waves, and currents is enough to meet the global worldwide demand. Now, what is wave energy? The wave energy is basically when wind blows across the ocean, it creates the waves. And this energy provides a natural and convenient concentration of the wind energy in the water. And these waves can transfer energy efficiently and are capable of traveling long distances with minor losses. And actually, in some cases, the wind, the waves, they gain more power as they go along, and then they meet the huge turbines or the wave energy converters, and they transform this energy into electricity. The next is the tidal energy, where it is more to do with the gravitational pull between the moon and the earth that causes the rise and fall of the ocean waves due to the rotational and the gravitational forces, and it's also regular and predictable. The way of harvesting it is slightly different, and similarly it's the tidal gradient as well. As I said, I'm not an engineer, so I'm not very conversant with all the processes that's going on. But I'm sure if you look it up, you will know more about all of these in more detail. The the fourth one is the salinity gradient, which is the energy created by the difference in the salt concentration between the liquids, and it is also called as the salinity gradient power. And there are two main ways in which this energy is generated. One is putting turbines in the mouth of the rivers. That's when the rivers meet the seas or the oceans. And it can be harvested directly. And there is also another process called hybrid energy generation, where there is a there's a focus on desalinization of the water and reverse electrodialysis, and they can produce the fresh water. And because of the osmosis and the osmotic power, that can lead on to production of electricity. Then you must have heard about the concentrated solar photovoltaics. So this is basically a technology of generating electricity by using the heat produced by concentrating the solar rays, the rays that we get from the sun, by different methods in which uh, a tremendous amount of heat is produced, and then this heat is converted into electricity. And this is also called as CSP technology. And mainly it's by using mirrors in different forms and of different curvature to concentrate the solar energy. It's to reflect the sunlight into a receiver where the primary circuit, which is also called the thermal energy carrier, collects the heat, and it's either used directly or via a secondary circuit to generate electricity by utilizing a turbine. And Spain, as of now, is the number one country which is using CSP electricity. And as of now, several projects in the USA and North Africa are coming up as well, because nearer to the equator, there is a much higher concentration of the solar energies. And therefore, there is a huge potential of creating much more electricity from this. And India also has a huge potential, but we'll come back to that later on. So there are different ways, one of which is the parabolic troughs, called PT technology, as you know, and the sun rays are concentrated on the heat receivers, which are placed on the focal line with parabolic mirrors, and the receivers are coated with a special coating to reduce the infrared radiation and increase the energy conversion. And heat losses are avoided by placing the receivers in an evacuate envelope of glass, and this heat is then transferred into into electricity. Then there are also called the linear Fresnel reflectors, which is another shape of glass. There are the solar towers, wherein basically huge towers are created, and they they concentrate the sun rays over two axes, and these mirrors then transfer the solar energy into a single receiver, which is mounted on top of the central tower. And by a thermodynamic cycle, this heat is transferred into electricity. Then there are other types of renewable sources, which is the geothermal energy. So geothermal energy, as you all know, it's the thermal energy which is stored within the crust of the earth. And by various mechanisms, if we can take out that heat from the earth's crust, and that can be transferred into electricity. and that is also a huge source, and potentially it's a big solution towards our energy crisis. You must have heard about cellulosic ethanol. So ethanol, as you know, is a compound belonging to the alcohol family, and it can be produced from various plants and feedstock. And there's already been lots of experimentation on biofuel. The biggest challenge to this being that as of now, most of the ethanol is produced from sugarcane and corn starch. But because these are also edible items, so we need as much of these to eat as well as to produce energy. So therefore, the the root sources are still low. So we're looking at different people are looking at different ways in which this ethanol can be produced, which is primarily from wood, grass, and some plants which we normally don't eat. And all of these emerging technologies make use of the plant cellulose to generate ethanol. And then the ethanol is then burnt to produce the electricity. The other one that you may have heard of is artificial photosynthesis. As you know, photosynthesis is the process by which the sun and the heat is used to produce food or energy by the plants, and we can have a similar process of having the photosynthesis done on an artificial basis, and that can create electricity. So the need of the hour is to produce and support these renewable energy technologies, especially the emerging renewable technologies, to make the earth a clean and hazard-free place for living beings. This support can be done by creating awareness, by helping in overcoming the technological barriers, by subsidies or tax-free policies by the local governments, and by more and more education about why we need renewable energies. So why do we need it? The reason is quite plain and simple. Is number one, it's the climate change, the huge impact which is done by the fossil fuels and also from the nuclear fuels. And just the very fact that fossil fuels are being used much more vigorously than it has been produced. So therefore, at some point, the fossil fuels will run out, and therefore we need to find other ways as to how we can produce the energy. The recent Ukraine war has had a huge impact in Europe, and we are facing here a severe energy crisis. Like for example, as of now in the UK, the energy prices have increased by almost 300%, because of which there's a lot of fuel poverty, and people are struggling to either heat their home. They have got to make a choice to either heat up their home or to use that money to eat. So people, there have been lots of sanctions on Russia because Russia is monopolizing the oil that is coming out from there, and that has made people realize more that we need other forms of energy and not just rely on the countries that have been blessed with with petroleum and the fossil fuels. Also, we know about the carbon footprint. The carbon footprint of the fossil fuels is huge, and they cause a lot of damage to the Earth's atmosphere, and as a result of which, we all are facing some drastic changes. So, up until a couple of years ago, climate change was quite a cliche. People thought that we just talk about it and it's not going to affect the common person. But now we can see it on a day to day basis. This year, was the first time when Europe or UK, which normally never has temperatures go beyond 26 to 30 degrees, we reached 41 degrees in the summer. And today, as of now, it's -4 degrees outside. So you can see how the climate has changed. And that is also the global warming is leading on to depletion of lots of glaciers and all, as a result of which many islands are getting drowned very slowly, that we are not able to even understand it, but it is going to cause huge problems in the future. So this is what we were just talking about, the climate change and the impact of the current energy resources and why we need the renewable resources. So, what is sustainability? So, we all have heard the word sustainable, and it's a key word in the business world, in the energy world, in the political world. So, what is sustainability? So, sustainability, by definition, is a process that can be managed over and over again without any loss or with minimum depletion during the process. And it is an end-to-end solution, and everything can be recycled. And this is a process where ideally it should be able to renew by itself over and over forever. And therefore, when we're talking about sustainable energy resources, so we are basically saying that we are going to produce energy in such a way that it can be regenerated over and over again, and it will cause a minimum disruption to the atmosphere and to the natural resources. So that is sustainability. And whether it's in any sort of business, whether it's any sort of policy making, it is important to know that this process is a self-sustainable process, or self-contained process, so that you don't have the fear of it running out. So talking about the socio-economic impact, as I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, energy prices have gone up, especially in Europe, and I think, yeah, in India as well. You can see the price of the gas cylinder, the price of petrol and diesel is going up on a very regular basis, as a result of which people are having to make hard choices about how they're going to heat up their houses, especially in the cold countries like where I am now, or in India, where people don't have enough money to eat and fill up their petrol at the same time. So there is a huge socio-economic impact, and it is also leading to changing decisions by the policymakers. And that is one of the reasons why more and more awareness is being created about the renewable energy resources. The geopolitical impact and the human behavior. Now, geopolitical impact, what I mentioned, is the one of the key example is the Ukraine war that's going on now, and also like uh, why Afghanistan and Iraq and all were got attacked by USA and the developing countries, because that was a way as to how they could get into the oil resources. So whether it is the political turmoil in Libya or in Iraq, you could see that the Western forces went in straight away. Whereas if there is a problem going on in Yemen or in a poorer country like Somalia and all, which does not have too much oil or energy sources, then it is going. Then they are not interested. So there is a huge political impact, and as of now, the Middle Eastern countries are getting lots of favors from different countries because they have a monopoly on the fossil fuels. Similarly, nobody is daring to do anything to Russia because Russia has got a lot of fossil fuel. And therefore, uh, if the other countries, especially the poorer countries, are able to regenerate more energy through renewable sources, then there will be less dependability on these monopolizing countries, and therefore the developing countries can do much better. The human behavior plays a big part because as of now almost everyone is using more energy than what is needed, and there are lots of things that we are doing which we have to change in terms of reducing the impact of climate change and also and pollution of the earth. But we'll talk more about it in the next couple of slides. So we've already mentioned about the innovations and challenges. So we're going to talk more from the India's perspectives as to what is the potential, what can be done, and what are the challenges towards it. So let's talk about the future and what is our duty towards it and what
Last
we can
slide.
all do together.
And you should have a listen.
So are you all with me so far? Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So I hope whatever I've said so far has made some sense and has been useful. So talking a little bit about India's potential. So, India is the only country in the world where a whole ocean has been named after it, the Indian Ocean. There's no other country. India is one of the few countries which has also got the blessings of big rivers like the Ganga and the Brahmaputra, and it has also got the mountains, which is the Himalayas, and it has also got deserts in Rajasthan. So all in all, you can see that there's a huge potential to generate solar energy, to generate the energy from the hydrothermal projects, from the marine projects. And so there was some research which shown that if you had are able to generate enough solar energy just from Rajasthan itself, from the third desert, it would be enough to supply more than half of the country. In Northeast particularly, we are blessed with a lot of waterfalls, with the Brahmaputra, and all of these can be used to harness the electricity through the hydrothermal projects. But there still seems to be a lack of appetite from the policymakers and from the government or even the big investors. And as a result, we're not able to do as much as we can in terms of renewable energy. But having said that, more and more people are getting aware of this, and I'm hoping within the next few years there will be much more focus on the renewable energy. So India is actually one of the beneficiaries from the Russia-Ukraine war because the Europe and USA has put sanctions on the Russia. So Russia has been supplying India and China at fuels at about 20% discount. So India is building up the reserves for the next 20 to 30 years. But again, that's only a limited period of time and that cannot go on forever. So we need to look at producing our own energy. And there is a huge potential. And as engineers and as the youth of tomorrow, so it is also something I would request you on to raise awareness among people about about these renewable energy sources. One of the countries that we can all learn from is Netherlands, because you perhaps know that Netherlands is a country which is based below the sea level, and it has a lot of wind around the whole country. And that was actually a curse because they were getting floods all the time. The wind was causing a lot of havoc. But over the years, they have learned how to live with nature and how to turn this curse into a blessing. So Netherlands, if you go anywhere from Amsterdam to Volendam to Rotterdam and all of these places, it's a beautiful country, and if you go anywhere, you'll see the windmills, and the windmills create most of their electricity. and also the water that comes in because of it being below the sea level. They've used it for the hydrothermal projects and they produce electricity from it. Netherlands is a great example, is a case study to read if you get the time. The other being the Scandinavian countries. So I've just recently, a few weeks ago, I come back from Denmark, and I've seen how countries like Denmark, Finland, Norway, Iceland, they are all so friendly with nature, and they have learned to live, not only live with nature, but to gain all the benefits from the nature. And they have they have been able to transform those natural resources into the energy, and therefore they are self-sustainable, and they don't need to worry about buying oil from other countries. There's a big role of the fossil fuel companies. So if we're talking about Indian Oil, ONGC, BP, Shell, and all of that. So they are making huge profits, and they have done so over the years. Uh, but it is actually only them who are now building up the energy, the renewable resources, and they're the ones who are investing. So, because all those employees of those big organizations are also consumers and customers of the fuel. So, many of these organizations have had a total reorganization, whereas in the past, their fossil fuel was the primary department, but now that has become like a side department, and renewable energy departments have become the uh, most important focus. There have been also big changes in how they drill the oil, because previously they used to just if by soil testing they found that there was a chance of having getting oil, they used to drill there, and during the drilling process they used to do all the test. uh, but that created a lot of environmental issues. So now most of this is being done by thermal imaging and by lab testing, so that the impact on the actual ground is much less than what it was before. So in essence, the important thing is that we, and especially you as engineers, you know all the definitions, you know it more than me. It is the important thing is to understand our role as human beings, our role as part of the society, as to why we need to reduce the uses of energy so that we can conserve it, and what we can do to enhance the use of renewable energies in the future so that we can leave a better legacy, a better earth for our children, for our next generations. Because in the current climate, there there have been research to show that by 2050, almost half of the world may suffer from hunger because of the crisis in food, uh, almost and because of the crisis in the in energy sources. So it is our role to make sure that we switch off the light as we are leaving the room. We don't keep the car on ignition while we are waiting for someone. We need to make sure that the pollution is less. Like in Delhi after the Diwalis, it's always a huge problem. So we need to be more aware of that. Even in Guwahati, pollution is becoming a big problem. So how we kind of tackle that, because the government cannot do everything. It is up to us to be more aware, and also not just to educate ourselves but to educate others as well, because only by conserving the energy, only by regenerating the soil, regenerating the energy sources, will we be able to survive. So in essence, if all the animals die in this world, the world will probably survive for a few months, and then it will get destroyed. If all the plants are are cut off and or burnt, and if all the plants die, the world will probably survive for a few days and then it will die. But if all human beings are taken out from this equation of the earth, if all human beings die, then the earth will live forever. So, with those words, I'm concluding my talk, and I hope you have found some useful perspectives in it. And open the floor for questions, and back to the host. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to thank you on behalf of all the faculties and students of SITM for you taking such an early hour to give us a presentation from United Kingdom. Very thank you so much, sir. Thank you. It's a privilege actually, and I wish you good health and a great life ahead, sir. And I would also like to
Thank you very
thank you,
much.
Putin,
Thank
sir,
you.
and Savil, sir, for helping me in arranging this session and making it a successful one. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, are there any questions at all?
Students, any questions, any queries regarding the topic? You can interact with sir if you have any questions regarding anything.
Okay.
I
So
think there are no
nobody's
questions, sir.
asking any questions. I hope you have found some of these things useful, because I mean there's a huge amount to learn, but I hope I have been able to give a little bit of direction. I don't think I am expert enough to teach engineers about these topics, but at least if I can change the perspective or give you a new perspective, that will be my job done. So just a little bit about the books that you've seen in the back. So these are two books that have been published in the last few months. And my book, The Second Chance in Life, has become a bestseller internationally. And the Assamese version of this book, called Jibonor Dityo Khuzug, is coming out, is being released in the Guwahati Book Fair. So if you do have a chance, do check it out. I'll be very grateful. And Ridip and Mustafizur and all all of you there. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you all.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
See you again, sir. Would love to have you back.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, students, you can go back to your classes. So today I end the session on National Energy Conservation Day, India. You can go back to your classes and start the day again. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good day.